They're trying to now. I didn't have time. I knew I wasn't going to have time yesterday because I didn't even get through everything I had planned to get through yesterday. But there was something else on the outside of the stuff that I had planned to talk to you about yesterday. There was another article that I saw talking about sex and how sex was not about reproduction. No. Sex for humans is not about reproduction. It's about pleasure. It's about recreation and pleasure. It's not about reproduction. So if you take the reproduction part out of sex, then it's easy to determine that, the consequence of sex could be a child. Well, sex is all about pleasure. It's not about procreating. I mean, only people who want to procreate have kids. Well, obviously, that's not the case. Sex, even though it feels good, it's pleasurable. One of the most pleasurable, probably for most normal people on this planet, the most pleasurable thing that they'll experience in this lifetime. It's pleasurable, but at the same time, the reason why it's pleasurable is so it fosters reproduction. Now, note people that have problems having sex for whatever reason, if it's painful or they just don't like it, they don't have sex, or sex is very minimal. I know some people are saying, well, yeah, just be married for 5 years and you'll find out how miserable sex can be. That's not, that's a marriage thing. We're not going to get into that. But there are people, for whatever reason, sex is not pleasurable. It's painful physically. It's painful mentally. They have certain medical conditions that don't sex doesn't excite them in any way. They don't tend to procreate. They don't tend to have offspring. But sex is all about procreation. But if you take away that aspect of sex and just say, no, it's just for recreation, it's just a pleasurable thing, then it becomes evident that the byproduct, the possible consequence of the sex act is nothing more than a bump in the road and can be discarded like anything else in our society. But that's not the case. If you have sex, I mean, there are ways that you can have sex, and, 99.9999999%, almost 100% guarantee you won't get pregnant. And I'm not talking about the use of birth control tools or devices like condoms and dams and gels and spermicides and things like that. I'm talking about for the simple fact if a woman actually knows her body. I mean, there's a rhythm method, and I'm fully aware that the rhythm method, people have failed it. Yeah, I'm fully aware of it. But if you have sex during a time when a woman is not ovulating, she's not going to get pregnant. If you have, I know some people say, well, I wasn't ovulating and I got pregnant. Well, then you obviously were ovulating. You just didn't realize it. But they're trying to take consequence out of actions. The consequence for having sex, no matter who you are, is that, straight people. The consequence is the potential of a child being conceived. Now, there are consequences for other kinds of sex, but we're not going there. The point I'm trying to make, and I'm making very vividly, is this: that liberals are nothing more than blatant hypocrites. And they prove it every time they open their mouth. Plain and simple. And I dare any, I don't need to dare, but, I'll throw down the gauntlet and say, prove me wrong, liberal. Well, you want to foist your morals on everyone. Well, so do you. So do you. In so many ways. Look, you got to understand that we all, all have a right to live and have our own beliefs. And we all have a right, to a certain degree, to espouse those personal beliefs. Now, if I want to just tell you, like I'm supposed to, tell you about the gospel of Jesus Christ, I have the ability and right to do that. You have the right not to listen, to walk away, or to listen and just reject it and say, you know what? I've heard it. Not interested. Thank you very much, though. You have a right to do that. What you do not have a right to do is to shut me down. What I don't have a right to do, and which you don't find many conservatives advocating, is shutting down those people going in Detroit protesting. Hell, in fact, most of us would die defending your right to do that, even though we know how stupid and hypocritical it is. But you on the left, on the other hand, you wouldn't die to protect somebody else's right to believe what they wanted to believe if it was different from yours. In fact, you say, oh, go ahead, kill them. Let them die. Let them die, man. They should be killed. They're just evil. George Bush, anyone? Remember that movie about the death of a president? I mean, can you imagine if Bill Clinton were in office and a conservative were to have done a movie called The Death of a President and Bill Clinton was the subject? Could you imagine? I mean, you want to talk about outrage, but when it comes to Bush, well, they hated Bush. Liberals hate Bush. They still hate Bush. I mean, they loathe Bush. They can't stand. I mean, they hate Bush so much that everything that is wrong with our country today is George W. Bush's fault. Nobody else's. Not the preceding 42 presidents before him, not the 44th president, right? It's Obama's 44th, right? Not the 45th. I may have miscounted. But Obama's not at fault. Clinton's not at fault. Oh, no, I take it back. Well, yeah, Reagan's at fault. Reagan and Bush, they're at fault. No other president's at fault, just Reagan and Bush. In fact, Bush is so much at fault that Reagan now, in the eyes of some liberals, because Bush was just so evil and so bad, that Reagan is more like their hero. Reagan wasn't that bad. Yeah, no, Reagan was okay. I mean, he was dumb and he was old, but he wasn't that bad. Bush was just terrible. Bush was evil. He stole the election twice. And then he lied, and he cheated, and he lied, and people died, and he lied, and lied, and lied, and lied, and lied. He was just evil. And then he caused the banks to collapse, and he caused the mortgages to collapse. He caused people to lose their homes. He caused people to lose their jobs. And all he did was give money to his oil barons, his oil pals. It was all about oil. Man, he gave so much money to oil. Bush was just evil, man. He was terrible. He was bad, and he was the devil incarnate. I mean, they hate Bush so much, they're still blaming him. Even though most of the stuff that's going on today is Barack Obama's fault. But no, it's Bush's fault. And if nothing changes by the time 2016 gets around, it's still Bush's fault. And yeah, it was bad. It was worse than we thought. Yeah, we can say that for first 4 years, maybe. Second 4 years, yeah, it was so bad that even when we thought it was as bad as it was worse than we thought. Yeah, because we thought it was bad, but then we found out it was worse. But then we didn't realize it was worse than the worst that we thought. Still Bush's fault. So, look, hypocritical, childish, can't take responsibility for themselves. Plain and simple. It's somebody else. It's always somebody else's fault. And then when you try to point out that it's their fault, they don't want to take responsibility for it. Well, it's not my fault I got pregnant. Were you raped? No, he was my boyfriend. I loved him. Let me get this straight. Now, folks, this is what they're trying to tell you. Did your boyfriend force you to have sex? No, not at all. So you willingly wanted to have sex with your boyfriend? Yes. And by willingly, yeah, I started it. I got him all hot and bothered. Okay. So the two of you had sex because you wanted to. Yes. With each other. Yes. But it's not your fault you got pregnant. No. Folks, this is exactly what they're telling you. So, if you take it a step further, so you do not believe that you're responsible for this. Well, no, because it's not my fault. And I'm serious. This is what people actually say. It's not my fault I got pregnant. Well, you willingly opened your legs. So? You know, it was for fun, man. It was just fun. It was pleasure, recreation. I was bored. Or he was so hot. Or I love him. You know, and he'll go around saying the same thing. But I love her. Or she was so hot. Or she just wanted it so bad from me. You know, all the excuses. But not one is, well, you know, we let our libidos control us. We didn't control our libidos. That's the proper answer. The proper answer is responsibility. Yeah, we let our libidos get the best of us. We didn't control ourselves when we could and when we should have. And the result is, you know, another human being. And then we hear, well, it's better if you do it than have this child grow up not being wanted. Oh. So again, you're denying the child the choice to live. While at the same time, denying somebody else a choice to work. That's fine. And you know what? They don't see a problem with it. Liberals don't see, you know, they can be hypocritical all day long. They don't see a problem with being a hypocrite. They don't even view it as being hypocritical. It's just pure, plain enlightenment. Ask Bill Maher. He'll tell you. You know, he's one of the smartest men on TV, so he says. Ask him. You know, he could have a sharp tongue, but, you know, he might think that he's funny, even though he's not that funny. But you know what? That so-called sharp wit, he's trying to hide his total ignorance and hypocrisy. And that's Bill Maher. That's a liberal. And that's all of them across the board. Don't doubt me.
I always loved watching the kids play basketball. I still do, even though things have changed. It's funny, they can't find jobs to get their careers started. And I can't afford to retire. And now we're all living together again. I supported President Obama because he spoke so beautifully. He promised change, but things changed for the worse. Obama started spending like our credit cards have no limit. His healthcare law made health insurance even more expensive. We've had stimulus and bailouts. Obama added almost $16,000 in debt for every American. How will my kids pay that off when they can't even find jobs? Now Obama wants more spending and taxes. That won't fix things. I had so many hopes.